the short life of the blockchain world is booms and busts. We are very early. We are very early. And when you're early into a new technology, this is not only a monetary system, but it's really a new technology, a new platform. In the early days, expect booms and busts. And what I analyze as we're going through the bust side of that roller coaster is how fragile or anti-fragile the ecosystem is. For example, May a year ago, we went through a crash. I mean, Bitcoin it would be considered a crash. Right. Bitcoin was cut in half and other crypto assets were cut by more than that. And I was fascinated to watch the DeFi ecosystem through all of that, because what I thought was going on was there was a lot of leverage. When you talk about speculation and mania, what happens is speculators are taking on leverage in order to capitalize on this boom.
Yep.
They don't even understand what it is. Some of the later ones getting in, they just know that their friend said, no, you got to get in. It's been going up. And then you have a crash and a shakeout. Last May, when that happened to DeFi, I thought that was a very important moment for DeFi. Not maybe NFTs yet, but DeFi and for Bitcoin, because the DeFi ecosystem did not skip a beat. There were millions of people wiped out because they had taken on leverage. All they were doing was speculating. Mm-hmm. And yet this smart contract to operating system effectively didn't skip a beat. You're going to see some of these blockchains flame out over time. So we are in the process of natural selection when it comes to these ecosystems. So fully expect there to be booms and busts. When you talk about a mania, we talk about the tulip mania, or what happens there is just one way up, pretty much now, with some bumps, but to the point where everybody in the country convinces him or herself or themselves that they have to be a part of this movement, because if they're not, their wealth won't grow, and it's a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. That is why I like these big corrections in crypto, and we get them regularly. We have a team at Ark that monitors on-chain statistics, and we're going to start publishing a report to help others understand, hey, here are some really speculative indicators.
Interesting.
And during a crash, here are some interesting buying opportunities. Whenever we've hit this kind of capitulation before, tiptoe in. So we want to be a part of helping people navigate through this world, because it's going to be extremely volatile. It's going to be extremely productive over time as well. It's just we're in the nascent stages of an early technology. In a broad sense, we have never been like this moment in history in terms of the amount of change that is it's already started. We feel the ground, as you just said, shifting underneath us. It has already started. 5 major innovation platforms evolving at the same time. You have to go back to the early 1900s to see anything like it. You had 3 platforms then. You had telephone, electricity, and automobile. Today you have DNA sequencing. You heard it on the conference, DNA sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies. All of them are in exponential growth trajectories, and they are converging with one another in massively important ways and profound ways. And they're going to deliver, we believe, if you just take a look at the technologies themselves, over the next 10 years, we believe the market cap associated with these 5 platforms and the 14 underlying technologies is going to scale at a 30% compound annual rate of return. These are astonishing rates of return. And if you're a good stock picker, you'll probably do even better than that if you're focused only on innovation. There are 3 revolutions taking place simultaneously right now. One is a money revolution. One is a financial services revolution, and one is a next generation internet revolution. So on the money revolution, Bitcoin and Ether to some extent, but Bitcoin, surely it is the most secure network out there, is the first, and each one of these words is really important. The first global, private, decentralized monetary system ever invented. And it is going to have profound ramifications. Just ask the people in El Salvador. And recently, President Bukele of El Salvador had a conversation with President Erdogan of Turkey because they are going through a currency crisis. And so I think the emerging markets are going to adopt this kind of monetary system increasingly because their own monetary systems, very dependent often on the dollar or on the euro or someone else who does not control the population. They would prefer not to be dependent on politicians. So that's the monetary revolution. And we think that it's going to proliferate faster. Emerging markets are very interested, except for China, of course. They're interested in making the digital yuan the reserve currency of Asia. And that's fully controlled by people. What I'm discussing is not. The second revolution is in the financial services industry. We do believe that DeFi, decentralized finance, is going to usurp the role of most financial services companies today. Most financial services companies are middlemen, and DeFi takes the middlemen out of the equation. You know, in the early days, some of your viewers may know of Lending Club, and it took some middlemen out of the equation. It was able to offer higher rates to savers and lower rates to borrowers, and became very, very popular very quickly. We'll put that on steroids. That's what we have going on in DeFi. And all of these are global. They are not, they're not being governed by any particular nationality. Now, regulators are now turning their sights on DeFi pretty aggressively. You saw in the chart how, at least once a month, twice a month, in the last year, a regulator somewhere around the world has said, hey, we've got to investigate this. And that's not a bad thing. I think in the United States, my observation is that regulators want to protect the little guy, the average investor. That's their mandate. And that's good. Prevent frauds and other such things. And yet I also found regulators not wanting to be blamed for preventing, at least here in the US, from participating in the next big thing. We have an ethos of innovation in this country. Interestingly, even though it seems today that investors are running away from it, it's kind of the opposite of the tech and telecom bubble when they were falling all over themselves. That was a dream. This is the reality, and they're running away. But regulators want to encourage innovation. So I think putting guardrails around is going to be a good thing for everyone. So that's the second. And I don't mean just saving and lending. I mean the full spectrum of financial services, almost anything out there. And then the third revolution is the next generation internet revolution. And that it does include NFTs. And the way we like to describe NFTs is, again, first, global, another big word, private, rules-based property rights system. So scarce and verifiable. Now, anyone who has read economic history knows the key to lifting countries and people out of poverty is to put in place a property rights system that is secure and verifiable and protected. So we think this is a very big idea. A lot of people think the benefits will accrue to the creator community. We love that idea, the creator community. And it isn't just art, right? And gaming, and it's music. We're going to find out how creative people are